Welcome back to Chats with the Freak. My name is Emmy, and I have the great pleasure of speaking with John from Lullwater. Lullwater's been a band that I've been digging a lot this year, and I'm really excited to have you on today, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming on. I've been really excited about this. So earlier this year, you guys dropped a album by the name of Voodoo, and it had this really cool vibe to it that was kind of southern rock-ish, but it had like a grunge vibe to it as well, at least to me, and I loved it. So what can you tell me about the record?
Yeah, so I guess the record came out February 22nd of this year. We were on tour with Seven Dust at the time, it's a great representation of the band. I think we put a lot of work into it and a lot of heart into that record, and we recorded it in New Orleans for a month, which was insanity. So we got the whole record out. I'm surprised we even got one song done. But yeah, the record's been really good to us this year. I mean, it came out earlier this year, and it's been doing radio and all kind of good stuff. So yeah, we're happy with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's not really out yet, but I have an article working for my top 20 albums of the year, and Voodoo is on it because I absolutely loved it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you right now. I absolutely loved it. And I actually
awesome.
saw you guys on the Seven Dust tour over in Columbus. I shot you guys. I didn't get a chance to say hi or anything like that, but I did some photography stuff covering the show, and you guys have so much of a cool energy. I've shot a lot of different, I hate to keep saying grunge bands, but grunge-ish bands. I just shot Mudhoney a couple weeks ago when they were in Pittsburgh. And I shot Alice in Chains back in August. So you guys definitely have that same, I guess, stage presence, I would say. And I definitely kind of digging into you guys. I saw that you guys have a lot of grunge influences, and I think that's really cool.
For sure, yeah. That's awesome you shot Alice in Chains. Those are obviously idols of ours. So we're definitely grunge, we have that grunge influence for sure.
Yeah, I'm a huge, all of my friends are probably listening to this right now, rolling their eyes going, oh my God, she's talking about Jerry Cantrell again. But, I adore that man and I adore that band, and they're my favorite. I have a couple Alice in Chains tattoos. They're definitely one of my favorites for sure.
Oh yeah. They're legends. They're definitely legends.
Definitely. So what's your favorite song off of Voodoo?
My favorite song off Voodoo would probably be the last one. I love Suffer Not. That's my that's one of my favorites off the record for sure. It's got, I know it's 10 minutes long. It's the crazy outro. It's definitely moody and gloomy, but I think for me that's one of my top favorites for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is a pretty good track, and it is really long, but it's really, I feel like it's good. It kind of sometimes I listen to long tracks and I'm like, oh my God, can this just be over? But then I listen to other ones and I'm like, okay, I get why this is so long. I just feel like sometimes with artists, they have a tendency to lengthen things out, and that song's not one of them. I felt like it kind of needed to be like that, and I felt like it really worked.
Yeah, that's kind of, we always try to do a longer kind of, as far as the length goes on each record, the self-titled record, we have Hello, which is an 8-minute song, and then Ruin the Roses on Revival, which is a long song too. So yeah, I think with Suffer Not, the way that it was, the way that it came out, it was supposed to be long. It brings you from the very, just somber, really quiet beginning, and then it goes to chaos about 8 minutes in.
Yeah, no, that song, it definitely has a really cool power to it, and I vibed with it a lot for sure. So I do want to ask you about one thing, and I know it's been a while since this has happened. I think it's been a while. I think this was in 2013. You guys recorded a Pearl Jam cover of Release up in Seattle, and I kind of wanted to ask you what that was like recording that.
it was kind of one of those things where we had 3 days off, and we recorded self-titled at London Bridge Studios in Seattle. So we were there for months for the first record, and then we were on tour, and we had a show at the Nectar Lounge in Seattle, and then we had 3 days off. So Jonathan Plum, who was gracious enough to say, "Hey man, do you guys, y'all want to put some tracks down for free, essentially?" And we had been covering Release, and we said, "Yeah, man, let's do the Seattle sessions kind of vibe," and then we recorded Release in the same studio that Release originally was recorded in. So it was really, really cool to do that song in particular in Seattle.
Yeah, no, the cover was great, and I usually don't like Pearl Jam covers because I don't think anybody can do any better justice, but I really dug that cover a lot. I shared it around a couple of my fellow Pearl Jam fans, and they all really dug it as well, and I just kind of wanted to talk to you about that because I thought that was really cool, and then I looked at it, I was like, that's from like 2013, but I still want to ask him about it because that's really fucking cool.
Yeah, like I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan, so that was, I appreciate the compliment with that because it definitely, we wanted to do it justice. There's such a favorite band of mine that we wanted to make sure that we did it right, and that's cool. I'm glad you dig it.
I feel like Pearl Jam's one of those bands that a lot of people kind of look at and it's like, oh, they're the band that did Even Flow, and then you have the other people that are like, know every song in their library.
Yeah.
Like there's no middle ground with them. Like you have the super fans and then you have the ones that are like, oh, I know Jeremy and Even Flow. Who's any better?
That is the truth. And I'm definitely the latter with admiring all of their work. And they're just to me, that's like one of the most badass bands ever.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. I totally agree. I saw Eddie Vedder a couple years ago down at a festival in Kentucky called Bourbon and Beyond, and the just aura of that man is just insane. Like, he just comes on stage and the entire crowd just changes, and there's just something about all those guys that is totally, totally insane.
For sure.
So while we're talking about different grunge bands and stuff like that, out of like all of the bands from that genre, and I think they all have their own power in their own right, who would you say is probably your favorite?
I'd say Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam?
Yeah, I would say Pearl Jam. That band for me was just, when I heard 10, when I was in middle school, that record changed everything for me. I'd been listening a lot of Southern rock and classical, like classic rock, and then, the oldies and stuff like that. but being a kid from South Georgia, when I heard Pearl Jam 10, it just, that was like, okay, I need to know everything about this band, everything about this genre of music, this, everything about Seattle. I was just entranced by that whole scene. So I would say for me, Pearl Jam is definitely my top favorite, as far as the hard rock bands out of Seattle, and grunge movement. Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, and then Soundgarden, I would say. Like, Soundgarden to me was, it blew my head off when you're listening to that at like 14 years old. It has power about it. And
I totally agree.
It's so classic and it's so original and raw. We kind of have based our band and wanted to base our band off of that originality and rawness, and that's something we always those bands kind of keep us on the path. We always think, okay, people are like WWJD or whatever. It's like, what would Pearl Jam do on this, or what would Soundgarden do, or some of those bands that kind of keep us in line as far as making sure we stay true and are genuine to the music.
No, I totally love that. I totally can relate because I had a similar moment with Alice in Chains when I was like 13, 14, and it was like I was staying up late with my headphones on. I'm like, oh, no one knows I'm listening to music, and I heard Wood for the first time, and I was like, holy shit, what is this?
Yep, that's the case.
There's just fans that stop you.
What's that?
And so there's just bands that like stop you in your tracks sometimes, and you're like, "Whoa, what the fuck was that?"
And those are the icons, you know. And I remember being a kid and like almost thinking I was going to get in trouble for listening to it. You know, it's like when you're 13 or 12, 14, you're sitting there and you're like, I can't play this really, really loud like I want to because my mom's probably going to come in and just scream at me like, what are you listening to? It's like awesomeness, Mom. That's what I'm listening to.
Yeah, but you don't understand. This is like I jokingly call Alice in Chains' album Jar of Flies my Bible. And I like, you don't understand, this is my religion now. Oh my gosh, yeah, I totally agree with that. And as far as Soundgarden goes, I am a huge fan of that and all of the projects that Chris Cornell did and had a part of, and it just that whole scene, there was just something about it that you can get like entranced with. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that got like heard it for the first time and then had to know every single thing about the Seattle scene. That makes me happy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that, you know, there's a lot of us out there for sure. And
I'm not alone.
Like, we're not alone in the world. Yeah, the best show, I think, not best show, but one of the most magical shows I saw. My girlfriend got me Chris Cornell tickets on the Higher Truth tour like 2 years ago. And so I just gotten off tour. It was my birthday and we went to see Chris Cornell in Charleston at the Coliseum in Charleston. And I think it was like maybe a 4,000 cap room, 3,000 cap room. And it was just him and a cello player. And that was it. And it was the most amazing 2.5 hours. Just, there's something about his voice that he could just, you know, I can't describe it. It was like obviously one of the best singers in rock, but just in general, like his voice was just so pure, you know. And then Soundgarden went on tour, and then, you know, the tragedy happened. But I got to see him right before that.
Yeah, I'm so jealous of that. I was supposed to see Soundgarden at the festival that they were supposed to play after the weekend after all of that happened, and I was very destroyed about it. But I'm glad that he left such a huge legacy on music in general, and he left us with these amazing records and amazing just memories, I guess, that you can just make with yourself. Like my when I was in culinary school, my teacher got me obsessed. He was kind of what got me into Soundgarden a lot more than I already was. And introduced me to like Seasons and stuff like that from his solo stuff. And oh my God, like now, like when I hear that, I'm like, oh, I kind of attached it to culinary school. So it's weird that you can kind of have memories about something that like somebody that you never met. It's weird. It's weird.
It's the beautiful thing about music. It's the time stamp and the chapter of your life and of the listener excuse me, of the listener. And that's what's always cool. Like, you know, going back and listening through those Soundgarden records and you know, exploring music that they have that you don't really, you know, aren't familiar with. It's like a rebirth kind of, you know, you revisit it, but you experience it in a different way. And it was crazy thinking about that after, you know, when he passed. Again, my girlfriend and I woke up. We were heading to Seattle that day. So we got on the flight and she woke me up at like 6 a.m. or something like that. We had to get a flight and she's like, hey, Chris Cornell died. And the whole day was just unreal. Like that, I think that was the first artist that passed in my, you know, adult life that I was emotional about, that I got really emotional about. And we flew into Seattle and everyone in Seattle was just, you know, somber. It was crazy. The radio stations were playing nothing but Soundgarden and Chris Cornell, and they had a moment of silence where I think, you know, all the buildings turned their lights off at night. It was crazy. It was crazy for like an hour. And it's surreal how much